On this episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast, we are back with the McCauley Sisters, the final part of our mini-series with them, and it is all about Bella McCauley qualifying for one of the best and most prestigious amateur events in golf at Augusta National, the Augusta National Women's Amateur. We'll talk to her about that experience, finding out about it, and then also talk to her sister about how she sees it from her perspective. And then we've also got some pro golf updates, PGA Tour, Valspar Championship, and then a little bit of TGL as well. So a lot packed into this episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. Hey golfers, I'm Drew Maholder, Second Swing Golf with Sean Bauer, co-host of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast, back for another episode in the studio. As I mentioned, really cool final part, so to speak, of our series with the McCauley Sisters. Bella is playing at the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Really cool to hear her perspective on that. Also, I know we'll be following very closely when competition starts next week. So such an honor, right? I can't imagine. We talked about it with her a little bit, but the experience of like receiving that invitation in the mail from Augusta National, that's got to be pretty cool. So a lot of that discussion, plus again, some more pro golf stuff as well.
Yeah, she'll be teeing off 1 week from today, which is March 26th. So she'll be teeing off next Wednesday, a couple rounds. Pretty cool. It's obviously been around since 2019, but just being at Augusta and having, Augusta involved with it, it automatically jumped to, the top or near the top of the top amateur women's golf events in the world. Probably that and the U.S. Women's Amateur, probably in the top two. So for her to qualify for that speaks volumes to the type of player she is, the work she's put into it. And, yeah, you're really going to enjoy this conversation. It's very entertaining. You're really going to like the part about their dad and how he was calculating it. So, really good stuff. And, we're obviously wishing the best of luck to Bella next week, and we'll be following along very closely. But before we get there, Drew, let's hop right into the turn. We get to the Valspar Championship, and there were some big names coming down the stretch.
Yep.
Two guys that hadn't won in a while, and ultimately it was Viktor Hovland outlasting Justin Thomas with a nice little run there in the snake pit. Yeah,
I think very cool for Viktor Hovland to be kind of back up in contention. Obviously, he had been struggling for a little bit here. The way I'm kind of disappointed in that, I thought there'd be a much closer, more intense finish with he and JT down the stretch there. Because JT had, I think, a 2 or 3 shot lead with not many holes to go. And then basically how they played those last few holes in the snake pit was the difference. But kudos to Hovland for, finding something in his golf game. I don't know if he even really knows what it was that kind of elevated him this week, but really good performance by him. Golf's better with him playing well. And then I think JT's right there too. He's knocking on the door. He's going to win something soon.
Yeah, Viktor hadn't won since the 2023 Tour Championship. Really struggled last year. I know he's trying to make some swing changes. Maybe he's kind of going back to what was working for him. But coming down the stretch, you're getting into that, the snake pit out there at Copperhead, one of the most difficult 3-hole stretches out there, and it showed. JT went 2 over on 16, 17, 18. Viktor he was 2 under on 16, 17. And then he gets to 18, he kind of just is trying to play a little safer, but obviously that shot on 16 was incredible. That hole is always one of the most difficult, long 200 and some yard iron that he lands it right over the bunker, has like 6 feet for birdie, then follows that up with another long par 3 shot, has about, another 12 feet for birdie, sinks that. Because I think JT, when he started the snake pit, had like a 2-stroke lead maybe.
Yeah, and it evaporated so quickly.
He bogeyed, 2 of the last 3. Viktor, so it's just a huge swing of momentum there, but great seeing both those guys. They're both kind of Ryder Cup stalwarts. Maybe that's kind of the motivating factor, that they're both kind of starting to show some form as we get ready for the fall up at Bethpage. So it'd be great to have both of them there. They're both, outstanding players. And for that event, too, they're
entertaining.
And they're entertaining players,
That's another piece of this is like Hovland plays, that swing is just, it's fun to watch because it's so, the takeaway in the backswing is like, you see it all the time on coaches and everybody looking at it. Like he's so out of position. But then as he transitions to his downswing, all of a sudden it just falls perfectly in plane. So that's unique and fun to watch again. It's also fun to watch guys struggle a little bit. These last couple of events down in Florida, the rough gets a little thicker, the greens and the fairways are a little firmer, and they kind of dry things out. And it's not the 23, 24 under birdie fest winning type of tournament. It's the make your pars when you can, make birdies if the opportunity presents itself, but just avoid the big number golf. A little bit different and kind of gets them ready for major season.
Yeah, I mean, I personally just think that's what the professional golf should be. It should you should be rewarded for hitting the fairway and penalized for not.
Yeah,
and that's what these courses have done in the last few weeks, and you're seeing that reflected in the scores. Set yourself up. You should be precise at all points of the golf course, and that's what we like to see. And obviously, as we get closer to Augusta and the Masters, that's all. That course is all about positioning yourself in the right spot. So,
yep,
we'll see.
Sure.
But yeah, those two are great to see. But I think the best thing we saw all week was Billy Horschel's shot.
Yeah,
just absolutely incredible.
The best shot I for sure of the year, and I can't think of a shot in terms of just that specific shot, the skill and creativity required to complete it. Like one of the best golf shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, so if you don't know the shot we're talking about, just Google or search on Twitter, YouTube, just type in Billy Horschel left-handed shot, Valspar, and you'll see it. So he was up against a tree. He couldn't swing at it right-handed, so instead he flips over to lefty, flips the club upside down, full swing, puts it on the green, and then like the cherry on top was not only did he hit the green in regulation, then he drains a long birdie putt to kind of cap it off.
In terms of like the percentage of a birdie, given where the tee shot ended up, that has to be one of the more unlikely birdies ever too. I think you said it before, but there's a perception out there that maybe like high level amateurs or like a +4, +5 handicap amateur player is like close to what these PGA Tour pros are, and it's not close, because that's the type of thing that just separates these guys that are the top 30, 50 players in the world. They do things like that, and it's relatively normal for them. But like us, that is the most impossible golf shot I've ever seen. They'll turn what looks like an impossible situation into a birdie. So kudos to Billy Horschel. That was awesome.
Yeah, really, really impressive. Well, let's get right into Viktor Hovland's What's in the Bag. I know it's one of our favorites just because Viktor, he does not play a lot of brand new clubs. He kind of sticks with what has worked for him in the past. Driver, G4 Ping G425 LST. 3-wood, slight change from his 2023 Tour Championship winning bag. He goes with TaylorMade Sim TI. He was playing a Stealth Plus at that time, but still similar concept. Obviously, both TaylorMade. Then he's got the Titleist U505, 3 utility. And he goes with some Ping I210s, forward a pitching wedge. Wedges, this is where we get his first and only current generation clubs. His Gap and Sand wedge, Ping S159, and then stays with his old reliable Ping Glide 2.0 for his 60 degree, and then of course his own prototype, the PLD DS72 putter. So
what a bag for someone that spent the last 12 months really just searching for something in their game. I give credit to Hovland for not going to the equipment and trying something new or getting fit for something new, and for trusting what he has so much. And it paid off. He ended up winning this week in a really difficult event. So it's again, all this stuff besides those wedges is like 2, 3, 4, 5. The irons are, I think, a 17 or 18 initial release from Ping. So he's sticking with what works, and those are all really good golf clubs too.
Yeah, and obviously, we love testing the new clubs. We love, putting some in our bag, but ultimately here at Second Swing, we are, our primary inventory is used golf clubs. And so a lot of these clubs, we see in our inventory. So we love seeing guys playing with these still, because it just goes to show you, the performance in these, clubs that might not be brand new, but maybe they're 4 or 5 years old. They can still perform, just got to, find the right fit for you. But awesome there. And then, finally here in the turn, let's get to the TGL. We had the finale this week. It was Team Atlanta sweeping the Championship Series 2-0. And speaking of Billy Horschel, the guy's just making multiple appearances this show. Yeah. Hit one of the craziest shots of the week at the Valspar, and then comes back and makes one of the craziest putts the TGL has seen. Kind of this, like, I don't know if it was a triple breaker, but it was like this big snake putt that he sunk in, and him and JT both just went crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's TGL is, I think it's a really good concept. I watched more of it this season than I thought I would. There's of course limitations to it. Simulator golf can only be so great, and also schedule constraints with keeping these guys kind of involved with their schedule and kind of mirroring it with the Florida swing the way they've done that. I think is really the only solution they have to keep this thing rolling. But it's really entertaining. I like the buy-in from the players. They seem to be, getting into it. There's competitive nature to them. You can, you hear some like the mic'd up quotes and just how much emotion there is to it. And also I'll add, I didn't love the hammer idea to start, but I'm kind of coming around on it because in a way it mirrors, the money game you play with your friends on the golf course where you can, you can press or you can roll or whatever like that. And it adds some relatability to the average Joe that's watching. And it's like, okay, well, this 13th hole is suddenly worth a lot more than the other ones.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I thought, first season, I thought it was, they have to consider it a success. Yes, there's areas where they need to improve, but overall, your players cared. It was competitive enough that, the golf fans would tune in to watch. It's not for everyone. I think they understand that, but the technology was really cool. Obviously, they kind of increased the amount of hammers being used because they wanted that almost, like you said, those money games that you play with your buddies. I think they need to lean more into that stuff just to kind of increase the, the competition level. Personally, I would love it if they showed more club data on the broadcast.
Yeah.
I want to see what these guys, club heads.
That might be just unique to us as gearheads, but
but it's just one little thing they can add. But then I think, ultimately there's a few other big names out there that weren't involved.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them come join. You got your Scotty Schefflers, your Jordan Spieths. There's plenty of other guys out there like that.
Yeah.
That, I would love to see on it. But overall, I think they have to consider it a success, and hopefully, they can make some tweaks and changes, and hopefully season 2 we can see, maybe a little bit more. So we'll see. But that wraps up the turn. So now let's get to the main event.
Yeah, Bella McCauley competing in the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Again, she's been getting fit with us at Second Swing, as we talked with Aaron Roth last week, for basically a decade now. And so to have her competing at this event, obviously it's pretty cool for us just to have kind of watched her grow up in that regard. And now she's kind of making a name for herself in the golf world. So without further ado, this is Bella and Reece McCauley talking about Bella's invitation to play the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Okay, welcoming back on the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. We once again have the McCauley sisters, Bella and Reece, for the fourth part of our mini-series here. And this one in particular, as you can maybe see and tell by the apparel here, is going to be focused on Augusta and Bella's invitation to play in the Augusta National Women's Amateur. One more time, I'm going to run through the accolades that may have earned you the invite, so to speak. So you've won 2 college invitationals outright. You won the share of the Big Ten title last year. You've qualified for back-to-back national championships as an individual. And then I believe it was top 30 ranking in the world for Americans, right? Is that what it was for amateur golfers?
Yeah, so for those golf nerds out there, it's based off like the Wager system, and then it's top 30 our American players, and then top 30 international.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you obviously fell into that top 30.
Yeah.
I guess my first question is just going to be on, I think this event was first hosted or played, was it 2019, I believe?
I think so.
When that happened, did it become a goal right away, or did it even think about it? It did, okay.
Yeah, so I can vividly remember watching, I think at that time I was in probably like 9th grade or something, can vividly remember watching Jennifer Kupcho and Maria Fassi playing, and it like immediately marked it and I think it marked for like a lot of girl golfers, just because it was like such a milestone in Masters or just Augusta National history with this being like the first women's event, and then the fact that it wasn't a professional event, but it actually was amateur. It's just kind of cool. And so I think immediately it became like a goal, along with like many other girl golfers across the country. And so, this has just been like a dream come true from the beginning. And even growing up, just like, oh my gosh, I just really would love to like play there once in my lifetime. Or can you imagine like if a women event was there, and to actually see it happen like during the time that I'm playing, and then be able to play at it is just it's just so surreal.
Yeah, that's it's really cool that they're doing it, for one.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool way to grow the game, get more visibility in the women's game as well, because what you've seen now too is a lot of these these players that have played in that event and contended, especially, and they're on TV and everything. They then end up turning professional and going on the LPGA tour, and then a lot of times there's a familiarity with that name.
Yes.
So the event is April 2nd through the 5th.
Yep.
And as you kind of talked about, the top 30 world ranking internationally, and then Americans in the amateur rankings. A total of 72 are in the field. After 36 holes, the top 30 advance to the final round, which is going to be held at Augusta National Golf Club.
Yes.
And then I believe is it a practice round that day before? Is that how
Yeah,
that works? So it's like a Thursday, Friday, Sunday deal?
It's actually like really, it's kind of a funny, like system the way they have it. But like you arrive Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday are like your practice rounds at a different course other than Augusta. It's at Champions Retreat. And then Wednesday, Thursday are your first 2 rounds, and that is at Champions Retreat.
Got it. Okay.
And then Friday they take like actually a break from the tournament, so the whole field can play Augusta. And then those that made the cut, the top 30, go on to play Saturday in the final round at Augusta.
Okay.
So either way, that allows for like either way the whole field is able to play Augusta, even if whether you make the cut or not. But it's obviously like the goal to like make it to the final day.
And what I guess went through your mind when you realized, like, at a certain point you kind of figured, hey, I'm probably going to get this invite. I'm in the top 30. What was going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, well, so I knew it was close, like especially in the summer, and I knew that a lot depended like on the fall season and how I did there, and so and we had 4 events in the fall, so and just kind of like the way it is in golf, obviously you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself or anything, and so I was really just trying to like keep it out of sight, out of mind. Like I had it, like I realized, okay, it's close. Obviously a lot depends on this. We're just not going to think about it for like those 5 weeks. And so I really didn't. Like I just kind of like tried to put it out of my mind. And then after the fall season, like immediately that like I give a call to my dad, and I was like, okay, like what's this looking like? And of course he had like been like figuring it out all season, but just didn't want to tell me. And, and
he was figuring it out like to the number too.
Oh my gosh, he was like
trying to. So like I did all the math for it. And
yeah, and it's like obviously like the ranking system is like based on like an algorithm and like things like that. And he's like, I'm trying to figure out the algorithm, and I'm like, Dad, you're not like really like analytically talented. And he's just like, no, I have this figured out, and he really did. Like he's like, no, like in this way, when
in
he
golf
puts his
stuff,
mind to it, he is, and I'm like, wow, he's
really
got
analytical with golf stuff.
He's like, based on my calculations, like you should end up around like 20, like 2 or 3, and which exactly like what happened. And I was like, wow, he's just on top of this. But yeah, so I kind of had a good idea then, and then like for those again that are like keep up with golf really well, like Q schools in like November, December, so obviously a lot of people that turn pro like drop out of the amateur ranking system, so like a lot of people exit then. And then so like in December I had a really good idea that I was in it, just because there's like not like as many college events going, like there's no college events going on, and then there's only like a few amateur events that like where rankings could fluctuate. So I had a really good idea in December, and I was just it was cool but it was kind of a different thing, because it's not like it was just a surprise. Like it was a slow buildup of like knowing that it's probably going to happen. But then of course when I got the invitation, it's just a really
I was going to say,
moment.
in kind of a weird sense that I mean, obviously it's a really cool moment, and it's cool to get the invitation, but it's a little bit different in that you kind of knew in a sense it was coming.
Yeah, and we like all got an email. I think like anyone that was like potentially in that like list or like cut line got an email in like December saying, hey, this is not an invitation, but like we want to confirm your address and like whether you're staying like amateur or turning professional. And then like the invitations go out. They're like invitations would go out second week of January. Like again, this is not like saying that you're automatically in, but like just to clarify. So that like, because obviously there's people that like might turn pro like between now and Augusta, so they have to like figure that whole thing out too. So
and then you got a like an email saying like, hey, like you got a package delivered from Augusta National.
Yes, so that's actually
and we were just like
how
sitting down like having breakfast.
Yeah, so
with
we
some
were
friends.
gone. We were in Arizona, like playing golf, just having a good time. And I literally look at an email, and I get UPS scam. I don't know if anyone else is like the same way, but like I get like like the UPS SS whatever, and it's like okay.
Oh yeah.
And it's like your package needs like you need like information to finish your package, get delivered. And I look at it, and so I'm like about to delete it, and then it says like from Augusta National, like arriving today, and I'm like, oh, okay. And so that was like kind of cool, because it was like that's how I found out. And then we didn't even get home for a couple days, so my parents were like had it on the mantle. They were like, we're not going to open it. And then we got home and then I opened it. So it was just like a saga of like how the invitation
The
was a
anticipation, I'm
process.
sure, from your parents to like not open this thing. From
Oh my
Augusta
gosh,
National.
my dad was like
Our mom's
taking
probably just like,
pictures
yeah.
of the box. And I'm just like, dear heavens, like, this
That's
is so funny.
That's funny.
And then our mom's just like, yeah.
Mom's just like,
I'm
oh
just
yeah.
happy for you.
Yeah. She's
That's
like,
really
have
cool.
fun.
That's cool. Well, Reece, from your perspective then, because obviously you've been, watching it, and it sounds like
Yeah.
there's kind of been this, you've been monitoring the
Yeah.
the rankings and everything with, your dad and stuff. So was there, obviously, what are your thoughts and feelings
Yeah.
watching Bella, end up getting this invitation?
Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited for it's just so exciting. I mean, I wasn't really like looking at the rankings like my dad
Well,
was,
yeah.
but I was like being informed of it. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is a possibility. And I was just like supporting her, like the tournaments. I remember that, like the last couple of the fall, that she's like, I kind of have to like play good in this, like for sure if I want to
Yeah.
go. And so I just remember like encouraging her and just being like, hey, just trying to keep her loose
Yeah.
and not get too uptight.
Right, because
But-
there's probably an element of like
Yeah.
you want to, for you especially, Bella,
Yeah.
of like you're trying to play well for yourself, for the Gophers, for your teammates.
Yeah.
There's this
Right.
little part of in the back of the mind
was in
that's
the back
like,
of my
oh,
mind,
also the Augusta National Women's
Yes.
Amateur is in the
Yes.
spring, and I kind of want to qualify for that too. So it's trying to
Yes.
balance those
Yeah.
things and still also like stay in the right mental space for the shots. So I'm
Totally.
sure you're helping with that.
No,
everything
yeah, and
as
I was
well.
like, okay, like if I play good, then like she'll be just like more motivated to play
Yeah.
good, and then she'll get to it. No, but yeah, I'm just super thrilled for her. Like, it's just she's been talking about it for a couple of years now, so
Yeah.
it's just really
There you
exciting
go.
to see a dream come to reality for
So
her.
are you gonna go watch?
I will be watching.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually have a college tournament.
It's so confusing.
Yeah, like leading up to it, and so we figured out that I can
I'm not playing
fly.
that.
Yeah, that like I can fly straight from that tournament to Augusta, watch her tournament day one.
Like round one.
Yeah, just round one,
Okay.
and then fly back that night because then I have classes and practice.
So
and workouts and
unfortunately,
stuff.
like she won't be able to be at Augusta to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
but also
but-
be able to watch it at the other course. Which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I get to experience it. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so now again, I obviously it's really cool, and to receive that honor is probably like she said, it's a dream come true. At what point now, and maybe this isn't it's still we're a ways yet. We're recording this a few weeks earlier. Is there are you setting goals? Are you thinking about it? Are you strategizing anything? Or are you still trying to stay like kind of present now? If you
No.
have events to play leading up to that
Yeah.
before that, so I guess. Is there a moment where you're going to maybe start to maybe turn on that competitive mindset and think, okay, now I have to beat
Yeah,
some of these
I don't know. I kind of always try to have like similar mentalities going to any tournament, and that's just like to try my best and play my best. I think like leading up to Augusta, I might like have a couple more club checks and like work on a couple of different shots specifically that I know like around the greens I might be in need of a little bit more with like high shots or things like that. And then I would say really like I would say honestly it's kind of gonna sound crazy, but it's probably like the tournament I think I'm gonna have like least expectations at, or like the least amount of pressure, to be honest, just because my sole goal was just literally to get there. And
Mhm.
I mean, obviously it would be amazing to play the final round and do well, but that's really not like the ultimate goal of this for me. And like truly like the big thing was just making it. And so I'm really just gonna be soaking it all in and just like realizing that this could be a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
And so I'm really just like focused on that. So I really don't feel like a lot of pressure at all, which
Yeah.
is kind of crazy.
Yeah, because I
But,
think
yeah.
it is a little bit nice too that they that you will get to play the
Yes.
course regardless.
Yeah. No, exactly. I
So-
think if that wasn't the case, it would like definitely bring things
Yeah.
up a notch. But just the way it is, they're like the whole event, like from what I've heard at least from different people that have played in it, just they make the experience so amazing, like whether you make the cut or not. So
Yeah.
it'll be awesome.
Yeah. So and do you feel a sense? I mean, again, I'm not trying to like try to totally hyperbolize things a little bit, but the first Gopher to do so, and it's a relatively new event, but still you're the first Gopher to receive the invitation. Do you feel a kind of sense of another sense of accomplishment in that regard too? I mean, I guess there's all these things that are are at play here with this honor that you've received. So have you taken a step back to look at that, or not really?
Not really, just because, again, we've kind of like alluded to it in a previous episode, but when we're just like in our, when we're just playing and like you're in the day-to-day grind of just like another tournament or like trying to just have a good time and like focus on your schoolwork, like it's not really like something in the forefront of my mind of like, oh my gosh, all this stuff happened. And I think eventually like that might sink in, but for the most part, you kind of just go about and like do your day-to-day and continue to practice and just get better and play your best. And that's really like all I can control or focus on, and that's just kind of what I try to do is stay present.
That's true. Our coach talks all the time about like just controlling the things that we can control, and then the uncontrollables just try not to get too obsessed with them.
Yeah, so like for me, like an uncontrollable is just like, I don't know, like records or things like that. Like, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna try my best.
Yeah, those are what they are. You can't change
Exactly.
anything,
Doing your best, yeah.
So I guess, Reece, now is this a goal of yours to
Yes.
to reach, achieve what Bella has with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of the peak, I guess, that you can do like as an amateur, and so it definitely is a goal, but I'm just gonna kind of take it 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
And, like the same thing, just like control the things that I can, just be disciplined and do my best and see what happens. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, again, to sort of reiterate, April 2nd through the 5th is when the event is. As we talked about with the format, Wednesday, Thursday, the first 2 rounds are at the Champions Retreat course, and then top 30 of the 72 advance to the final round at Augusta National. So I know we'll be following it very closely here at Second Swing, and as we in the last episode talked with Aaron, your fitter, I know he's like trying to, he'll be following everything that you compete in this spring, of course, when that one, and then of course it'll be on TV too. That last round is always on TV.
So tune in, guys.
So it'll be fun. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping in and spending some time with us, sharing your perspectives and on the game of golf, on the life of college golfer, all these things. It's been really cool to get the inside perspective. There'll be more stuff coming with McCauley's as well throughout the 2025 year. So
Absolutely.
Bella and Reece, thank you so much. This has been awesome. We wish you guys the best of luck, not just at Augusta, but of course in any of the spring events here and moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, as always, this is a blast, so thank you.
Yeah, we're honored to be here.
Okay, that was Bella and Reece McCauley. I think really cool. Just you mentioned it right away, but the way her dad was computing the formula and like the algorithm, and kind of not really, in a way, almost keeping it to himself. Where like maybe if like Bella asked, he might shed some light a little bit, but it was kind of like he was just trying to internally have a good idea where she was. But that's just it's fascinating and really cool to see her obviously get this invitation. Yeah,
and they're just like any other sports parent. Like you have the dad who's maybe a little more like he's looking into all the research, figuring out what it is. Then the mom's just like when she got the invite, she's like, just go have fun. Like the dynamic there, just great. But yeah, I mean, pretty cool. I mean, I think every golfer out there, I think their dream is to play Augusta National.
Yeah,
and Bella gets to do that. Hopefully, she gets to play it multiple times. Yep. Obviously, all the players get to play it on Friday during kind of their off day, and then let's hope she makes it to the final round there on Saturday and gets to play on. But yeah, what an opportunity, what an accomplishment. Obviously, definitely earned, and pretty cool for I know for the more northern and Midwest golfers that can get into that. The more younger girls are going to see that and pick up the sticks. Yep. I know she's not the first Minnesotan, but first University of Minnesota golfer to do it. So
well, who Kate Smith, Kate Smith-Stroh, as she is known now, but Second Swing ambassador, she qualified for this back in 2019.
So I mean, it's just cool seeing 2 Minnesotans. Yeah. We're up here just get more girls in golf. Here's a cool event that you get to go play arguably the most famous golf course in the world, definitely the United States.
Yeah,
and I get to
just really cool by Augusta too to start to I guess involve themselves more in the women's game with this event too. So, but yeah, I'm really cool with that. We're gonna be rooting for Bella, no doubt. On the YouTube channel coming up here, we've got some fun things. We got a live at lunch this week, talking with Tyler just about what to expect in a second swing fitting. I think we get a lot of questions about that. They get, Tyler gets questions just by email. Can I do this? Can I do this? What if I have XYZ in my bag? So just talking through all those different nuances of what a second swing fitting actually entails. So that'll be fun. Of course, join 1 p.m. Central Time, ask your questions, give us your feedback. And ultimately, we just want to give you the full picture of what you can get in a second swing fitting, which, by the way, they're free with purchase. So these are all the things that we provide to you in those club fittings. Also, a couple other pieces here. You may have seen it, but we have a kind of a series, so to speak, of content that we are capturing and we'll be rolling out in next several weeks here from the tour trucks of your favorite golf companies. We've had a couple of filming sessions already on the tour trucks, and we got a lot more scheduled. So some behind the scenes looks at the equipment being played by the best players in the world and how they're being built for those players. And is it really the same stuff that you're playing or you're able to get in a fitting, or maybe what are they doing some really special, unique stuff for, say Corey Connors, for example. So a lot of that to come as well. Really cool experience that we get there to kind of show you guys some behind the scenes action.
Yeah, definitely a fascinating area. Who doesn't love? I love club builds and seeing the different. Even when it comes to grips, like guys, you don't want 2 pieces of tape, 1 extra piece down below. Just the little nuances that every player kind of prefers, and these are the best of the best players. So you get to kind of get an inside look at how they like their clubs. So
I'll give one sneak peek to that. We were on the ping truck, and Sahith Tagala, we saw him get a wedge built for him. They build it at they take a 62 and move it to like 59 or 60 for him, depending on the week. But they shave off the 62 completely from the sole. We're at like read 62 and then the bounce, because Sahith doesn't want to know that it's a 62-degree wedge. So they shave it off completely, and it's just like they hand stamp a manually like 59 ST or 60 ST on the back. So kind of a little head case thing. A lot of these guys are like that in particular about it, but that's just some little things like that you're going to get a lot from in this series.
Really looking forward to that whole series. I know you guys have been busy on the road capturing that content, so really looking forward to that. On the second swing side, we have few clubs coming, available now. We're gonna have the Ping Bunker.
Yes.
So if you are looking for help out of the sand around the green, this is a club for you. We interviewed John K. Solheim about it. It's a really cool, kind of has that Ping I2 shape to it. A lot of bounce, wide sole. Not just for the sand, but obviously kind of around the green. So that comes into stores this week, as does the Ping Scottsdale putter line. That's their insert line. Mm-hmm. And they have, a lot of...
several. I think it's 10 models, something like that.
10 models, yeah. And then they have
There's some blades, mallets, mid mallets.
Crazy, I think, is back for the first time since 2017. So that's back. So those available. And then obviously the Vokey oil can finish goes up for sale here. So that's kind of a limited release. Obviously a really cool looking wedge, but there's just a limited supply of them. So... You'll have to keep your eye out for that. But, that wraps up this week's episode, Drew.
Yeah, so last thing, of course, subscribe wherever you should subscribe. So Apple or Spotify podcast, wherever you listen. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe on the YouTube channel. But, we'll see you next week for another episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. Make sure you're subscribed.